across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good afternoon and welcome to Drive Time right here on Talk. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be your host for 3 thrilling hours of news, views and topical debate all the way to 7 o'clock. Get on the show, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. It is Tuesday, August the 4th. Here's what's coming up. Proving that he intended to be a caring, sharing Prime Minister, Andy Burnham took note of the people's fury. He listened to the anguish of PC Harper's widow and mother and promptly paused the early prison release scheme in order to keep that brave copper's evil killers behind bars. 1 week later, King Andy doesn't seem to care anymore. He's unpaused the early release scheme and greenlit the letting out of the vile thugs who brutally brought PC Harper's young life to an end. But well done, Andy. You bought yourself a whole week of positive press. And will Mr. Burnham worry about the explosion of anger over his decision to carry on releasing thousands of dangerous jailbirds? Nah, after 14 exhausting days of his unpromising premiership, he's gone on a thoroughly well-deserved fortnight's holiday. Does that make it look like he cares about the various crises engulfing Britain, or does it make it look like he couldn't care less? 0344 499 1000. Hope you have a nice holiday, Andy. Word is he's gone to Ceuta, so that should be fun for him. Nice and sunny. Bit crowded, but I hope he enjoys it. A lot of rubbish on the beach as well, but you never know. I hope it all works out for the Burnham family. They were a well-deserved holiday for Andy after 2 exhausting weeks in Downing Street and 2 days in Downing Street North. God almighty, this guy, seriously. 0344 499 1000. In other news, talking of crises, that migrant crisis he's done nothing about, despite more than 2,000 illegal foreigners crossing the channel unlawfully since he waltzed into Downing Street. Well, this morning it just got even worse when 157 poor souls were on board one of these new mega boats when it burst into flames. Fortunately, they were all saved by the Border Force and the French and returned to France. So you see, it can be done. Returning migrants to France. There they were on this mega boat. It burst into flames. Both the British and the French boats brought it back to France. So it can be done. Something for Andy to think about while he's sunning himself abroad, right? 0344 499 1000. Also, on today's action-packed show, in a powerful piece in the Daily Mail, star columnist Sarah Vine declares that Western women are under threat from misogynist migrants. This after the chilling case of British tourist Elizabeth Jane Ross, found and murdered and crushed into a suitcase in Athens. An Afghan migrant stands accused of killing her. Is Sarah Vine right? Do we have a problem here? 0344 499 1000. Are there too many misogynist migrants who mean harm to Western women? Certainly, asylum seeker crime figures, particularly sex crime figures, would suggest that we do have a problem here. 0344 499 1000. Plus, furious residents say they are about to become prisoners in their own home amid plans to reopen the massive local immigration detention centre for 600 migrants and foreign criminals. In what way does this suggest that the government has the migrant crisis under control? An immigration detention centre closed down 10 years ago, now being reopened, and it will soon become one of Europe's biggest such establishments, one of the biggest detention centres for migrants in all of Europe. And he's got the problem under control. Labour are tackling stopping the boats. It's just a lie. He's not. This is getting worse and worse and worse, isn't it? 03444 99 1000. Plus, big news, it's Meghan's 45th birthday. Is it a happy one or an unhappy one? 03444 99 1000. And finally, the extraordinary half-century-old row over Scotland's famous 1982 World Cup goal against the mighty Brazil. English football presenter Jimmy Hill called David Nair's 25-yard rocket a toe poke. Was it? That is the question in a new play debuting at the Edinburgh Fringe called The Toe Poke. I'll ask the main players in this off-field drama what exactly can be done to solve this 54-year-old dispute. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Tuesday afternoon together, and it being Tuesday, let's go straight over to my Tuesday friend. He is Senior Fellow at the New Culture Forum, Philip Kisley. Hi, Philip.
Hi, Kev. Great to see you.
Good to have you on the show. Well, Andy Burnham, I think we now have a hint of the tenor of the man. This time, a week ago, it was revealed that the scumbags who killed poor PC Andrew Harper were to be released from jail in the early release scheme after only 6 years inside. Now, this caused great anguish on the part of Andrew's widow and his mother, and public fury across the land. King Andy listened to this. He listened to the anguish of Andrew's grieving loved ones, and he listened to the fury of the people, and he said, I'll tell you what, I've listened. I'm putting the early prison release scheme on hold. Furthermore, this will keep these two scumbags in jail. Let's remind ourselves of that moment. Here's Andy promising us that he's going to be...
I feel for the family it's an appalling crime that was committed. The main perpetrator will not be subject to any early release. Of course, others involved have potentially been identified, but I've spoken to the new Justice Secretary. We will review the policy together and make further statements in due course.
Well, here we are, Philip, 1 week on. He's reviewed the policy and it's back in action. He's unpaused the prison release scheme, and the two scumbags who killed poor Andrew Harper, the brave copper who was dragged along behind their car on a tow rope for more than a mile, depriving him of his life and indeed his skin. When witnesses found him, they thought he was a skinned deer. That's how bad this poor guy's death was. Anyway, 1 week on, Andy has reviewed the policy. Those scumbags are now coming out. So will thousands more very dangerous prisoners. So that's Andy Burnham for you. He bought himself a week of positive headlines, and now he's just said, right, OK, well, we're back to that scheme that you don't like. That causes such anguish for PC Harper's relatives. And do you think he'd worry about this? I doubt it. He's just gone on holiday for a fortnight. You couldn't make this stuff up, could you?
It's revolting, isn't it? It really is revolting. And looking at that footage, he looked like he was lying. His body language, he was so hesitant. He really did look like he wasn't telling the truth. I mean, this poor lad, PC Harper, was, what, 28 years old, Kev? And he was flayed alive, essentially.
Yes.
His mother says that this is a slap in the face for justice. His wife, obviously, is reliving the hell that she went through 6 years ago. And we are in a position, as you say, these two little scumbags are coming out after serving 50% of their sentence. But we're in a position where other kinds of crimes, lower level kinds of crimes, people are coming out after a third of their sentence. In other kinds of crime, people are coming out after 40% of their sentence. So you know, where's the deterrent here for these kinds of people not to kill people, not to commit crimes? Now, okay, there is the sense with justice, it is about punishment and mercy, and there should be an incentive for people to kind of rehabilitate and behave themselves while they're behind bars. But there's no incentive here. This is just nonsense. This is, as his mum said, a slap in the face for decency. And the reason, let's just focus on the reason. This isn't some high-meaning, highfalutin philosophical thing about justice and mercy, as I've just said. This is just the fact that the system is going to collapse if they don't let all of these people out. Now, as I was thinking about this, I was thinking, well, hang on, what about all the foreign criminals that are in the system here? Can we not just deport those and maybe start with that? You know, it's about common sense, it's about common decency, and it's about not forcing these poor people, the families of the victims, to revisit and relive the horror of this stuff day after day. It's condemning them to misery, and it's just revolting.
Yeah, and we do not want to see this Prime Minister playing media games again. All he did was take the heat off himself and say, oh, we're going to review this policy. I think he probably knew full well that nothing was going to change, as you say. As things stand, because they haven't done anything about building new prisons, even temporary prisons, the government has no choice but to keep letting these people out. 6,000 will now be released in September. Murderers, killers, manslaughterers, drug dealers, violent people, sex criminals. Well, they were going to be letting out sex criminals.
Yeah, it's not sex criminals.
The Prime Minister has thrown us a bone by writing a mealy-mouthed piece in the Telegraph saying, well, I'm going to keep sex criminals in. Oh, great. Well done, Andy. What do you make of the fact that this guy has just wafted off on holiday today for 2 weeks? Now, you know, I think it's not fair to say politicians can't have holidays. Of course they should have holidays. The Prime Minister always deserves a break because whatever you think of them, they do have to work very hard. Now, but this guy, it's only 14 days he's been in office. 14 days. You might have thought that he would have at least calculated this isn't going to look good and, frankly, cancelled this holiday. And I think the fact he's gone off while we've got this crisis going on, the migrant crisis has just exploded. 157 people had to be rescued today off a mega boat when it burst into flames. More than 2,000 migrants have come across since he waltzed into number 10. Massive crisis there. He's got crises coming at him from all angles. And what's his response? I think I'll go abroad on a sunshine holiday for a fortnight. That's just wrong.
Well, it's just wrong, but it's typical. It's absolutely typical of the public sector. And now we've got Louise Haigh in charge, the convicted fraudster. You know, so, you know, things are really going good here, aren't they? At least the Burnham bounce has done one. Now that doesn't exist anymore because they're trailing reform in the polls. But let's just come back to the real horribleness of this, because if these little scumbags had been convicted now, they would have mandatory life sentences because of Harper's law. They are being released, or they probably will be released, halfway through. He's okay for that to happen, despite having said that it wasn't going to happen, and he just goes away on his jollies. He's forgetting it all, and he's leaving it in the hands of Louise Haigh. This is revolting. I suppose this is the way it's going to go. And I think what we're going to get is U-turn after U-turn. Not only that, we're going to get outright lies. This is just going to be about spin. This is good old Labour spin. This is kind of Blairism at its worst. And then when the heat happens, you know, when he's done two weeks of work, for God's sake, Kev. Oh, God. Then he's going to go away.
It's been exhausting, Philip. It's been exhausting. It's a well-deserved break. Perhaps he's going to do that throughout his premiership, like an oil rig worker. He'll do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. But
no, do you know what? Do you know what it's going to be? I know what it's going to be, right? He's going to say, "Oh my God, I'm suffering from anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
I need time off. I need time off." That's what it's going to be.
And he'll get it for that reason. Never mind about him suffering from anxiety to depression. What about all the people who have to live under his leadership? We're all getting anxiety and depression. As you say, a new poll, YouGov poll, reveals that Reform have bounced right back above Labour again. So the Burnham bounce is already fading. And after this debacle and the migrant crisis, it deserves to fade. But I suppose it does show that leniency towards criminals can result in remarkable feats of rehabilitation. We now have a convicted criminal running the country, Louise Haigh. She's a convicted fraudster and she's the #1 politician running the country, while Andy Burnham is resting after 2 exhausting weeks. This Labour government are already a disaster. Just before you go, Philip, I want to get you about the ongoing Farage-Rupert Lowe psychodrama. Now, I think a lot of us would like to see the right unite. I think it's interesting that in Rupert Lowe's videoed offer, which he posted out of the blue suddenly on social media on Sunday morning, there's no offer to the Tories, which I think is interesting. But look, I don't want to pour scorn on the idea of Reform and Restore settling their differences and becoming a more powerful political force, able to garner more votes. I don't want to pour scorn on that concept. But Nigel Farage has got a point, hasn't he? If Rupert Lowe wants to forge a peace pact, going on to social media with a 12-minute video full of demands that he will require if Nigel is to agree to his peace pact, things like, effectively, you'll have to sack all the Tories who defected to Reform, Robert Jenrick, Suella Braverman, Danny Kruger and others. A clause that Rupert Lowe knows full well that in a month of Sundays, Nigel Farage would never and could never accept. That it doesn't sound to me like a genuine peace offer. It sounds to me, or it came across to me, like a bit of political game playing. If you don't agree to this, Nigel, that proves you're a bit of a Lib Dem. That's basically it, I think.
I think it is. This is a stunt. But let's just bear in mind where Restore are polling at the moment. They're on a very, very meagre 4%. So they are not in any way, shape or form in any kind of controlling position. Now, that 4% could be very, very important for Reform, obviously. But you don't, as you say, you've actually just made the point I was going to make. If you're interested in serious negotiation, if you're trying to meet people in a negotiation, what you don't do is do it publicly. You do it in a small room. You thrash it out, and then you present what you have together. What you don't do is make ridiculous demands. So I just don't take any of this seriously. And I think Restore are so damaged, mainly because they don't really know what they are. And some of them were reduced to having to, well, first of all, they were flirting with ethno-nationalism, more than flirting with it, actually. And then Rupert was saying, well, he loathes ethno-nationalism. And then some of them were having to kind of come out and say, define the difference between ethno-nationalism and neo-Nazism. Now, if you're in that position, if you're backed into that kind of corner, the British electorate are going to have nothing to do with you whatsoever. So I think Nigel should be very concerned about sullying his own brand. I think that's probably the major concern here. Like you, I really want to see the right united. I think that is the way forward. But there are some people who should be just out of the game completely, and it should be a serious negotiation. This isn't a serious negotiation. For me, it's a publicity stunt, and I'm really disappointed in Rupert because I like Rupert, and I like a lot of...
I do too. I've got a lot of time for Rupert Lowe. I've had him on the show a lot. I'll try and get him back on, I think, soon to try and explain himself, because there is only one explanation for this. It was a publicity stunt aimed at embarrassing his old enemy, Nigel Farage. It was not a serious offer offer of a peace pact. I don't say that with any pleasure, but it's a fact. Yeah. Philip, great to have you on as always. Thank you so much, mate. Philip Kisley there, Senior Fellow at the New Culture Forum. And now we were talking about the impending release now of those two scumbags who killed poor PC Andrew Harper, much to the anguish of his poor wife Lissy and his mum. We will talk after the break to the chair of the Thames Valley Police Federation. Thames Valley Force was the force that Andrew Harper worked for. He's still remembered fondly there. The Federation, Police Federation, is effectively the trade union of the coppers who work there. And Aileen O'Connor will join us after these messages. And put it this way, she is angry. That's the understatement of the century. Andrew's colleagues are furious. I think the people of this country are just beside themselves with anger about this. We'll talk to Aileen O'Connor, chair of the Thames Valley Police Federation, next. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned.
I think what he suspects is that the leadership of Reform is in trouble with all these scandals, apparent scandals over donations. Reform, nevertheless, is well known across the country. Reform as a vehicle is capable, if it has the right leadership, of actually forming a government. And that with the weakened leadership of Reform, there's a risk that Reform itself will be lost. And he doesn't want to lose the potential of a vehicle that could provide the kind of government that he and I and others wish this country to have.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let me ask you, give me a call about this. Well, should Andy Burnham be on holiday at the moment? As I say, it's ridiculous to criticise politicians for going on holiday. They need a break like everyone else. The Prime Minister, well, most Prime Ministers especially need a break. Not sure about Andy Burnham, considering he's only been doing the job for a fortnight. But of course it was a pre-booked holiday. But given the crises engulfing this country, particularly the one with early prison release and the migrant crisis, which is getting worse, spiralling by the day, should he have gone away? Should he not have at least postponed this? Should he be on holiday now? 0344 499 1000. Now, let's return to that awful story of the killers of poor PC Andrew Harper, dragged down a country lane, caught his ankle caught in the tow rope of these three tow rags car. They drove him, look at them, grinning away. If you're watching on the telly, this is them grinning away as they were taken into custody. I thought it was all very funny. They dragged his body along for more than a mile down a country lane. All his skin came off. When witnesses found his body, they thought it was a skinned deer. His widow, Lissy Harper, is furious that her husband's killers are being released, and his mother says it's a slap in the face, and she says it goes against decency. It does. Well, let's speak to the chair of the Thames Valley Police Federation. That's the union, in effect, for police officers, Aileen O'Connor. Aileen, just how angry are you about this?
Kevin, we spoke 2 weeks ago, and I think you sensed my frustration and my anger then on behalf of my members.
I did.
That's evolved tenfold from the news last night when I heard that the decision around the early release of these individuals. So it's a whole new level of anger, frustration, disappointment that I represent on behalf of my members across the Thames Valley and up and down the country, to be quite honest with you.
Important to stress, Aileen, that Thames Valley Police, there are still a lot of coppers who remember Andrew. So they were friends and colleagues of his. So this is personal, isn't it? They want justice for Andrew. Arguably, they didn't even get that much of justice in the first place. 13 years or 12 and a half years for what these tow rags did, I think, is not enough. But now the two of them are going to walk free after just 6 years. They killed someone. They killed a copper. Killing a copper, it's all terrible to kill anyone, but killing a copper should involve a very, very stringent sentence. I don't think they got that in the first place. But the fact they're being released after 6 years, as Andrew's mother says, it's just a slap in the face. It's a slap in the face for the family. It's a slap in the face for you and all of Andrew's colleagues as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's more than a slap in the face. Quite honestly, it's rubbing salt in wounds that have never healed from 7 years ago for Andrew's family, for Andrew's widow, Lizzie, for his friends, colleagues. And the thing with this news that we've got today is there's no deterrent that I see for individuals who commit these heinous crimes, and particularly who take an officer's life in the execution of their duty. We've got Harper's Law that we fought for back in 2022, but that doesn't deal with the issue where we have now with these two individuals. I said before, the only people that are suffering any form of sentence in this is a life sentence that Lizzie Harper, Andrew's mother, father, brother, cousins, their family, close friends and family, because he's not here to live the life that he should be living.
Yeah, it's so tragic and so wrong. Just to remind the audience, in case they're not up to speed on this story, if you know the details, it's even more heartbreaking. Andrew and his wife Lizzie had just got married, and that day he was due to go off on his honeymoon, but he delayed it. He postponed it because he was hot on the heels of solving the theft of a quad bike. These three people who in the kids or thugs who in the end killed him had stolen this quad bike, and Andrew thought, give me a couple more hours, I think I can solve this. So he was a dedicated copper, and the rest we know. He caught up with them. There was some kind of altercation somehow or other. He got his foot caught in the tow rope of their car, and they just towed him down the road and killed him. He was about to go off on his honeymoon. That is the level of the tragedy here. Here's what I can't understand, Aileen. If you were Andy Burnham, perish the thought, or if I was, perish the thought even more, this is what I would have done. I would have thought, well, look, yes, my hands are tied. I've got to let prisoners out. We've got such a crisis of overcrowding. I've got to let them out. But there's been an outcry, a very understandable outcry about these two thugs that killed PC Andrew Harper. So I'm the Prime Minister. They don't get out. Those two stay in jail. Why hasn't he done that?
I think I support the keeping of rapists, child sex offenders, those individuals that are involved in grooming gangs behind bars, as they should be. But you cannot in one breath say that those individuals who pose a risk to society should be held behind bars, and on the next breath say, but it's all right to kill a police officer, because that is they're saying that that's a less serious offence than those heinous offences against those individuals. And for me, that's just not acceptable. It's just not. And
so I think too often now, the wrong message is sent about those who injure or who kill police officers in the line of their duty. The sentences are not strong enough, they're not long enough, they're not tough enough. I mean, to go back to these two thugs, they got 12 and a half years for killing a police officer. I mean, I'm not quite sure why or how they managed to negotiate it down to manslaughter, because they weren't actually driving the car. The third thug is not being released. But I think these two should have been done for murder. And if you murder a police officer in the line of his duty, they should basically lock you up and throw away the key, if only to tell police officers the state will protect you, the state will look after you. If you serve the state bravely as a serving police officer, the state will protect you and will punish anyone who hurts or kills you. But we are not sending that message at all. That is a catastrophe, I think.
Yeah, that message for my members is definitely not the message that's coming out due to this policy. And that, again, that is simply not good enough. I started a petition today, which at 10 o'clock it got launched. It's been going for 6.5 hours. We're over 22,000 signatures in that petition, and it's quite simple. It's to keep these individuals where they belong, behind lock and key. I'm in the process of pushing that petition far and wide and to get it where I need to get it to, lobbying MPs around changes to that legislation to discuss it in Parliament, and looking at a judicial review of that policy and the process behind it all. Kevin, I won't stop till we get some form of justice for Andrew, for his legacy, for his life, and for everything that he stood for.
Well, you need to give us the details of that petition, and we'll flash it up and see if our audience, I'm sure many of our audience will sign it. I'll certainly sign it. Have you tried, Aileen, to get in touch? I mean, I was going to say, have you tried to get in touch with Mr. Burnham since this U-turn on pausing the prison release scheme? So he's unpaused it now. I was going to say, have you tried to get in touch with him since he unpaused it? But of course, he's gone on holiday. But have you tried to get hold of the government at all about this, to register your dismay and to register the dismay of PC Harper's fellow officers and colleagues and friends?
Yeah, so we wrote a letter, as did our PCC and the Chief Constable 2 weeks ago when we were discussing this very issue when it was paused. And there was an acknowledgement around the letter, but nothing else. I haven't personally reached out to the Prime Minister or to the Justice Secretary today, because I've been doing the press interviews and getting my message out there on behalf of my members. That is where my priority is. We've got a lot of support from MPs, and for me, and I said it at the time, this isn't about political parties and the politics behind politics. I don't, with the greatest respect, I don't care about that. What I care about is justice, and that those individuals to remain securely behind bars, because they're a threat to the communities across Thames Valley. And there's not going to be any measures that can be securely put in place if those individuals are released on a tagging system. They will still re-offend, in my view, because there's data to suggest that that's exactly what happens when people are released early.
I've been asked where can people sign that petition? Because we're going to flash it up on the screen. Where is it?
Yeah, so it's a change petition.
Yeah, we've got it
so
there. Petition to stop the early release from jail of PC Andrew Harper's killers.
That's it.
So if folks, if you put that into Google, if you put petition to stop the early release from jail of PC Andrew Harper's killers, then this petition will come up. It's been started by Aileen and Andrew's fellow officers in the Thames Valley. 26,000 now, Aileen. I think you had 4,000 since you started talking to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely amazing, and I'm really grateful for everybody that's got behind it, and I'm really grateful for PC Harper because she has backed our campaign, and I'm grateful for every single signature that we've had, but I just need to keep pushing it more. So I'm grateful for that support, Kevin. Thank you.
Well, we'll keep flashing that up, but I think you'll find that petition is gaining traction very, very fast. Well done, Aileen. Well, listen, keep up the fight. Good to talk to you. Let's keep in touch, and good luck with the petition. Thank you so much, Aileen. Aileen O'Connor there, chair of the Thames Valley Police Federation, right at the heart of this ongoing drama. A petition out there that is gaining a lot of signatures. These two, as I said, let me ask you this. Give me a call. What do you think? At the very least, if I was Burnham, I'd have said, right, OK, I don't really have a choice. I've got to start letting the prisoners out. But these two that killed, these two scumbags, these thugs who killed Andrew Harper, PC Andrew Harper, keep them behind bars. He's the Prime Minister. Why doesn't he do that? Maybe he forgot. He was too busy packing to go on holiday. Should he be on holiday? 0344 499 1000. Next up, we're going to talk about this latest drama in the English Channel, proving that the small boats, the not-so-small boats, are still coming across like the Spanish Armada. 157 migrants were on board one of these new mega boats. They're not so small anymore. When it caught fire this morning, proving that they're coming across in their droves. And when the Prime Minister outrageously, ridiculously, ludicrously claims that Labour's plan to tackle the boats is working, I mean, he's either gaslighting, lying, or he's just thick. Because it's not working, is it? 0344 499 1000. We'll talk to investigative journalist David Shipley about that next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Warm welcome to the show to investigative journalist David Shipley. Welcome, David. We got a sound problem there. Is it?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's there. He's coming in. We're just trying to get this sound talking out. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yay, we got there. Now, I want to talk to you, first of all. You're going to stay with us till the top of the hour, David. I appreciate that. A couple of stories to discuss. I want to overarchingly talk about the migrant crisis. It was only on Sunday that, magnanimously squeezing it in as he was busy packing to go on his holidays, Andy Burnham went down to the White Cliffs of Dover in a PR move that I think may well come back to haunt him. But there he was with the cliffs behind him saying, you know, effectively, once again, doubling down on his strange claim that the government's plan to stop the boats is working. Well, this statement came on the back of more than 2,000 migrants crossing the Channel illegally since he became Prime Minister 2 weeks ago. He maintained that the numbers were seriously down. Well, I think that's being proved to be due to the weather, because what's happened most of this year has been unusually windy. Suddenly the Channel's like a mill pond and they're piling across. One day last week, more than 750 came across. I think it was Saturday, about 350 came across. So there are these days where it's pretty damn phenomenal, and the new shtick seems to be, forget small boats, these are now mega boats. I think it was like last Friday, one boat was carrying 165 people, one boat. Well, this morning we learned that another mega boat carrying 157 migrants burst into flames. Luckily, both the French patrol boats and the British patrol boats were able to save everyone on board, and kind of interestingly took them all back to France. So it proves they can be taken back to France. But this potentially very tragic incident proving that Andy Burnham's assertion that the government's plan to stop the boats is working, as I said, is either just gaslighting on an epic level, or lying, or our Prime Minister is just stupid and can't see with his own eyes what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's not working. And it's interesting, they tend to focus on saying how many boat launches they've stopped and how there are fewer boat launches. But actually, that's because, as you just pointed out, the boats are much bigger now. So the number that actually matters, of course, is how many people are illegally entering the country.
Indeed. And I mean, what do you make of this Prime Minister's approach to it? As I say, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he's just gaslighting us, saying, well, you know, numbers are down on last year, so it's quite clear the government's plan is working. Well, I'm not even quite sure what the government's plan is. A few sort of vague pledges by Shabana Mahmood that you won't be able to get citizenship so quickly or residency so quickly, but it's clearly no deterrent whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, the reason these people enter the country illegally is because once they get here, they can claim asylum. They will, in most cases, just get granted asylum. If they don't, they will almost never be deported. And so we're in a situation where, of course, they're going to keep coming because all the opportunities are here. And actually, the other thing that Burnham announced on Sunday, which we should be very concerned about, is he's keen to open these safe and legal routes, which just means making it easier for more people to come to the country who we don't want to be here. It's going to be an absolute disaster. He's not serious about it. A government that was serious about it would remove the pull factors, would ensure that anyone who entered the country illegally would never be granted asylum, would be interned until they could be deported. And this would stop.
And what are these? I've always been sort of annoyed by this proposal by so many usually left-wing politicians. Let's open up safe and legal routes. You just look at it and say, hang on a second, 4,000 came across last week. I got a better idea. Let's not have any routes. Now, safe and legal routes, though, from France, what would they be for? I mean, why do you need safe and legal routes for migrants coming from France? Because France does not have war and torture. Why do they need legal routes to come to Britain? They can stay where they are.
Yeah, we don't. And I think the misunderstanding here is that we talk about refugees and the asylum system, and people imagine it's like the end of World War II with these big displaced populations fleeing from the Red Army. It's not. This is, we essentially grant asylum to people on the basis that the country they come from is not as nice and a bit less safe than Britain is. And it's just on personal claims of being unsafe in that country. So it doesn't even, there's loads of claims from Bangladesh, for example. And it's not real. If you talk to people who work in the asylum decision-making system, they say that they just see the same photocopied claims and stories again and again and again. The vast majority of asylum claims are just tissues of lies. These people should not be coming here. We are being conned, and we've got a prime minister who's trying to join in on conning us, frankly.
And we're going to do a story later in the show about a new massive migrant detention centre that closed down 10 years ago. It's in Gosport in Hampshire. They're about to reopen it. It will be a detention centre for 600 migrants and foreign criminals. Again, this is no indication that the government is anywhere near getting this migrant crisis under control. On the contrary, it is spiralling out of control. That is palpably obvious, isn't it?
And they're looking at negotiating contracts for asylum seeker accommodation through to around 2040. You're absolutely right. A government which was determined to fix this problem could fix it pretty quickly. It would involve removing the pull factors. It would also, so I think it's important to understand, we actually intercept all of these small boats now. We just then take the people off the boats and bring them to England. Yeah. So we could intercept the boats as we are and then intern those people or send them back to France. A government that wanted to fix this could fix this in one summer. Once people realise you're not getting asylum if you come to Britain, they're just going to send you back. No one's going to pay thousands of quid to get on one of those boats. It could be stopped in one summer if the government wanted to, and they just don't. That's the reality.
I think that's what worries me. I think we have a cabinet in particular full of people who don't believe in sovereign borders. They believe in freedom of movement. They believe in letting these people in, but they pay lip service to wanting to solve this crisis. But I think not that deep down, they don't want to solve it. Therein lies the problem.
Yeah, and I'd go further than that, actually, and say, given that we know these groups of people, men who come across, are much more likely to commit sexual offences. They're very unlikely to ever earn any reasonable amount of money. They'll almost certainly be a net drain on the taxpayer. What we actually have is government by people who want to maximise sexual offences against British women and girls and who want to cost the taxpayer as much as possible. That's the actual outcome of their policy choices.
Well, we're going to talk about the sex crime element of the migrant crisis next after this break. So if you stick around, David, we will resume this conversation after this break. Stay where you are, folks.
I think what he suspects is that the leadership of Reform is in trouble with all these scandals, apparent scandals over donations. Reform, nevertheless, is well known across the country. Reform as a vehicle is capable, if it has the right leadership, of actually forming a government. And that with the weakened leadership of Reform, there's a risk that Reform itself will be lost. And he doesn't want to lose the potential of a vehicle that could provide the kind of government that he and I and others wish this country to have.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with investigative journalist David Shipley. David, Sarah Vine, the star columnist at the Mail, I'll just hold that up there. It's got a very provocative, interesting piece across 2 pages today. The headline is, "To even write this feels taboo, but we need to talk about how so many Western women are being sexually assaulted and murdered by migrants from misogynist cultures." She's referring in particular to the sad case of the British tourist Elizabeth Jane Ross, who was found murdered in a suitcase, crushed into a suitcase in Athens. An Afghani migrant who was a small boat migrant in the Mediterranean, has been accused of that crime. He's in custody now. He was working for Christian Aid, funnily enough. She had Christian intentions as well. There's also an American lady called Jamie Carney, who'd resettled in her ancestral country, Ireland, in the Killarney area. She has allegedly been killed by a Jordanian migrant that she fell in love with, met at a pro-Palestine protest, apparently. That's just 2 cases, but if you add that to the statistics, the alarming statistics we know about asylum seeker sex crimes, which are rising disturbingly, then it does seem we have a problem here. We are importing a sort of sex crime epidemic because we're allowing more and more men in, steeped in cultures of different countries that have very different attitudes to women than we do. Sarah Vine's got a point, hasn't she?
She has. I'd add actually to that list Deng Chol-Majek, who infamously murdered Rhiannon White, who was working at the hotel, being housed at our expense. And I think my view is there are certain nationalities who it just makes no sense to ever allow into the country because on average they pose far too high a risk. Now, you don't have to believe that is something innate and biological. You can also believe that that's simply about their cultural background. But if you look at a country like Afghanistan, where women are treated as less than livestock, of course men from those countries are going to come here and do awful things to women. Why would you expect anything else? And I think we can either choose to have this policy where we sort of pretend that all peoples are the same, and we then just wait to see which of the Afghans or Sudanese we let in will rape and murder. And that is effectively and functionally a rape and killing maximizing policy. Or we have to start being grown-ups about it and saying, actually, we shouldn't have any Afghans here. We shouldn't have any South Sudanese. We don't need a Dinka population flow into this country. It's not in any way beneficial.
And statistically, Afghani nationals are 22 times more likely to be arrested for or prosecuted of sex crimes than British nationals.
Yes.
That is the kind of statistic that we ought to be terrified about, I think.
But I think we should be. And I think we shouldn't be. We just have to start being honest about stuff. We know that this group of men pose a really high risk to British women and girls. And yet we are continuing to run a migration policy which is importing them into the country. And the result of that must be the rape of British women and girls. That is inevitable. So the politicians and public servants responsible for that, in my view, must eventually face prosecution for this.
But they are usually of the be kind persuasion, aren't they? And they think that we are offering refuge to poor men, women and children fleeing war and torture, whereas nearly all of them are, in fact, young men. The fashionable way of describing them is young men of military age. I always say perhaps a more opposite way of describing them would be young men of sexually active age, and they do get here. I mean, I'll give you one case. A couple of years ago, covered the story. An Afghani guy comes across in a small boat. He's 26 years old. He's almost immediately posted or billeted in a hotel in Falkirk in Scotland. First night he's there, he goes out, finds himself a 15-year-old local vulnerable girl, takes her behind the local pub and brutally rapes her. When he goes to court, he absolutely unravelled. He went absolutely spare when he got 12 years, screaming and shouting, effectively saying his defence was, well, nobody told me that you Brits took this rape business quite so seriously. That sums up the cultural problem we have with these men.
It is, and frankly, I mean, a lot of these guys are coming from countries where rape is punished by death. So maybe they do think we're soft on this stuff. But I think, yeah, it just comes down to a choice, doesn't it? People who think they are being kind are often not being kind. Actually, often the best thing to do is to be very severe at the first to prevent greater harm. And if we want to we don't have to have British women and girls being raped by strange foreign men who shouldn't be here. That is a policy choice. And the people who campaign for open borders and the politicians and the public servants who allow it and support it, I think have to be reminded every single day that they are responsible for these crimes. They are morally and politically responsible.
Absolutely. You've got about 45 seconds, David. We'll give Andy Burnham a school report on his premiership so far. It's been very exhausting, so he's gone off on holiday now, 2 weeks. But he's been in power 14 and 15 days. What do you think of it so far?
Well, I think he slid into office without any real challenge. We didn't really know what he believed. And, the thing about being Prime Minister is you quite quickly get found out. Things happen and you have to respond. Yeah. And we've had these two big things. We've had the early releases and we're having the migrant crisis continuing. And what I think we've seen in both cases is that he's pretty vapid. He doesn't really have any ideas. He's done a little bit of fiddling at the edges on the early release scheme because he's not going to be the PM who releases rapists early. He hasn't got any ideas on migration. You could see standing on.
Yeah, it was embarrassing, wasn't it? Yeah, I think his entire shtick is Labour have done great work so far, but we could do more. We could do better. That's it. David, I've got to go, but it's great to have you on the show. David Shipley there. Stick around. Next up, Graham Stringer. Stay where you are.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do a little later in the hour. I'm sure you've all got the bunting out, champagne corks popping and all that. It's Meghan Markle's 45th birthday today. We'll have an assessment in a little while about whether or not this is a happy birthday or a not so happy birthday. It doesn't seem to be going too well on the Meghan and Harry front. We'll talk to royal biographer Angela Levin about that in a little while. But first, perhaps on slightly more important issues for the next 20-25 minutes or so, let's talk to the Labour MP for Blackley and Middleton South, Graham Stringer. Welcome, Graham.
Good evening.
Let me ask you this. The prison release scheme. Now, we all understand that poor Andy Burnham, like Keir Starmer before him, their hands are to a certain extent tied. We've got a crisis of overcrowding. I'm afraid at the moment, no new prisons having been built. There's nothing else for it. You just do have to release prisoners that you'd rather not release all too often. So 6,000 slated for release in September. Now, a week ago, Andy took a look at this, particularly in the light of the fact that among those due for release were two of the killers of poor PC Harper, who was dragged for a mile along a country road on the back of their car, and his poor widow, Lissy, and his mother are absolutely furious. His colleagues at Thames Valley Police are absolutely seething. And he said, right, I'll pause this prison release scheme. We'll review it. That brought him a week of positive press. That week has just ended. And he's had to unpause the pausing of the prison release scheme. So it's back on. He's collided with reality. I mean, in some respects, you know, I sort of don't blame him. I wouldn't have paused it because he should have known that was going nowhere. But why do you think it is, Graham? If I was him, what I would have done is, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. I've looked into this. I still do have to release thousands of prisoners in September. It's not ideal, but what can you do? But what I would have done is I would have taken these two guys who killed poor PC Harper and I'd have said, well, they're not getting out. Why didn't he do that?
I can't speak for Andy, the Prime Minister. I assume that his lawyers will be advising him that he has to treat prisoners in the same category, in the same way. And rightly or wrongly, as the law as it stood at the time, the people who killed PC Harper weren't convicted of murder. They were convicted of manslaughter. The law has since been changed, so if the same thing happened, that they killed a public servant in the line of their duties, which they did, they would have been convicted of the equivalent of murder. So I think that's the advice that the Prime Minister will have got. I think this is a really difficult case because there are so many people in prison for manslaughter that he couldn't have put that category out. He couldn't have cut that category out. I think he was right to take a look at it, and he has excluded paedophiles and rapists, as I understand it, and I think that's a good thing. I think if he could have found a way of putting these people who killed PC Harper back in prison or leaving them in prison, that would have been absolutely ideal. So I don't think it was wrong to look at it. I think he could look at the numbers, and he's kept more people in prison than otherwise would have been in prison. But it's not ended up as a satisfactory situation for these two.
Well, listen, while the government is sort of busy swiftly converting disused air bases, military bases, army bases and the like for asylum seekers, for migrants, couldn't they do the same, and turn them into temporary prisons, like they did with the Nightingale hospitals? They built Nightingale hospitals in the COVID crisis in about 2 to 3 weeks. Couldn't they do the same with prisons? Get something built that would preclude having to keep releasing these very, very dangerous prisoners, 6,000 of them. That's extremely worrying. Why don't they at least announce something?
I agree with that. I was about to say that this issue hasn't had the attention and the cash it deserves. People do not want these violent people back on our streets. And I certainly don't want them back on our streets. Even people sentenced to 5 years for some violent crime are out after 2 years anyway, and that would be reduced further. I think that's a ridiculous situation. I think the public would be more content if, when people were sentenced, they served the sentence they were given, not having it automatically cut by 60% as it is now. And I agree with you completely that there should be an urgent building of secure units, possibly for the less dangerous prisoners, so that the really dangerous ones could be kept in maximum security prisons. But I don't think over a number of governments, either in the long-term investment in the prison estate or in taking more immediate action to keep dangerous people in prison, I don't think enough has been done.
Yeah, don't you think it's kind of strange? I mean, Andy's written a piece in the Telegraph today kind of apologising for this, as you say, pointing out, well, look, I'm going to make sure that sex criminals, rapists, paedophiles, etc. will be kept inside. They will not be able to get early release, which, of course, is something. He says they're going to rack up the use of electronic tags and so on and so forth, but it's really not much at all. I mean, why no pledge to do something about prison spaces? Why not say, and along the way, we're going to have a look at least building temporary prisons? Bearing in mind, Graham, you know this, man of experience, that 99.9% of prisoners don't want to escape. They want to serve their sentences. You don't have to have sort of Colditz-style massive walls and barbed wire and guards everywhere. You just need a place to put them. So why no proposal to do anything about this? Because in the absence of that proposal, all the government is saying to us is, oh, by the way, about every 6 months we're going to release about 6,000 to 10,000 prisoners.
I agree with you. As I said, I can't speak on behalf of the Prime Minister, but I think that should be the case. And more than that, as I've said, I think people who are sentenced to 5, 10 years life, whatever, should serve that term. But it's not just because these people are potentially still dangerous. But I think about a third of people convicted of violent crimes end up back in prison. It is the impact, not of violence, that's important, but the families of people who have been victims of either rapists or murderers. I spent some time a few years ago trying to stop the murderers of a woman called Suzanne Capper getting out, and it caused real distress. It was a dreadful murder, actually, but it caused serious distress to Suzanne's mother that these murderers who tortured Suzanne for a week were going to be let out onto the streets. And that, to me, is nearly as important as the threat that they've got to attack other people.
Indeed. Can we move on to, that old perennial, the migrant crisis, which has, since Andy Burnham became Prime Minister, got a lot worse. I mean, he's been very unfortunate in that respect, given that the weather has meant that not that many migrants have been coming across for most of the year. But ever since he got into number 10 Downing Street, the English Channel has turned into a mill pond. More than 2,000 migrants came across. One day last week, more than 750. I think Saturday, about 350. One boat, the new style of these so-called small boats is that they're not small, they're mega boats. One boat had 165 people in it. And this morning we learned that a mega boat with 150 migrants in the process of crossing the channel today caught fire. Luckily, they were all rescued by the British and the French and taken back to France, proving that the British can take these migrants back to France if the circumstances dictate. But so far, all that Andy Burnham has said is, crossings are down, so it looks as if Labour's plan to stop the boats is working. Palpably, that's just not true. And then he went down on Sunday to the White Cliffs of Dover for one of these communications office PR appearances, you know, with the filmic White Cliffs behind him. I don't think that was a good idea. I suspect that little image will come back to haunt him in the years to come. But anyway, once again, he doubled down on, well, you know, crossings are down, the plan to tackle small boats crossings is clearly working, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's just not, is it? He's going to have to do better than this, isn't he?
Yes. I mean, I think I came on your show and just before he became Prime Minister, I criticised him. I'm pleased he's Prime Minister. He's making a better fist of it already than Keir Starmer. But I criticised him for not saying what he was going to do about the big issues. And I think he should be saying how he's going to stop it, reducing it. It has reduced this year. I'm not sure it's anything to do with what the government or the Home Office have done.
I think it's mainly the weather. It's the wind,
yeah,
apparently.
I think so. Yeah. He needs to say how he's going to stop it, because as has been pointed out, these could be terrorists from anywhere in the world coming. They could be Iranian, they could be Afghans, they could be anything, because they destroy the papers before they get here. And I think my view, certainly not the Labour Party view, is that anybody crossing in this way should be told that they will not, under any circumstances, be given asylum. And it leaves you with a problem of what you do with them straight away. But I think that would reduce it straight away. And they should be given basic, you know, we don't want people to starve. We're not in the business of torturing people, but they should be given food and basic accommodation. These people are promised that they will be in hotels or given houses when they get here, that they will get immediate first-class NHS treatments, dentistry or whatever. And we should say, no, you get the minimum and you will not stay here.
Yeah, I mean, why don't they, for example, Graham, why don't they just off the bat, you're quite right. I mean, the problem is there are no deterrents for migrants, cross-channel migrants, just one hell of a lot of enticements. One of them is that from the day they arrive, they get 50 quid a week social, you know, benefits. I mean, that's ridiculous. Free food.
Well, I think the Danes, I'm not saying we should adopt exactly the same scheme, but the Danes, if they have valuables on them, they say you can only keep so much of that, and then whatever we give you, basic food or whatever, what you've got will pay for that. I think giving them money, giving them mobile phones, giving them all those facilities is an inducement to come across. But the biggest inducement is their ability to stay here and get housing and get support. And we don't know who they are. Some of them have shown that they're criminals. They've murdered people. Not the majority of them. They've carried out rapes.
Of course not.
But some of them have. And as they, in my opinion, have no right to be here, they've paid international criminals to get here, they shouldn't be allowed to stay. And until the Labour Party and the Conservative Party, for that matter, get to grips with that fundamental problem, this is going to be an issue. And as far as the Prime Minister's concerned, if he wants to win the next election, this, along with the growth in the economy, is one of the two big issues. So I think there's a big incentive for him to get to grips with it. And he can't, all the cliches that we're going to smash the gangs, we're going to stop these criminals getting their boats, we'll stop the boats being stored in Germany or whatever. None of it makes the slightest bit of difference.
It's just periphery stuff around the edges. And you're right, Graham. Why? Andy Burnham's an intelligent guy. I mean, sometimes politics isn't difficult. If he wants to win that next election, if he wanted to become the most popular Prime Minister probably of the last 50 years, solve the migrant crisis. Nigel Farage said yesterday he was pretty certain that he could stop the boats in about 2 weeks. I don't disbelieve him. If you take the right measures, you could stop them very, very swiftly. Why doesn't Andy set about doing that? I mean, he could enshrine himself as the Prime Minister. He keeps talking about a 10-year plan. He's got no chance of that as things stand. But if he turned the migrant crisis around and solved it, he would get his 10-year plan. He could probably stay forever.
I think to be a leader, to be a Prime Minister, you have to grow the economy. But every good Prime Minister has had to take decisions that their own party, and sometimes the majority of the population, don't like to start with. And people respect leadership and toughness. And I think that the electorate would respect Andy if he went against probably his own instincts on this and against the grain of the Labour Party. If he said, we just cannot put up with this. Our society, our democracy is based on fairness. Most of the arguments I've been in, whether it's been with business people or whether it's been with poorer people on all sorts of difficult issues about discrimination and other things, if you start from the point of view of what is fair, how are we treating individuals, you go a long way in winning the argument and getting to a point where more people will agree. And I think Andy has to gird his loins on this one.
I agree. I mean, I think he should do something. He could do it. He could do it. He could be the man who solved the migrant crisis. I think he worries about his popularity, about his electability. Well, that's how to do it. It's not rocket science. Can I ask you a last question? Very, very important question. I'm sure you'll agree. A lot of my audience are questioning Mr. Burnham going off on a 2-week holiday now. Now, I'm not one of those people who says that politicians shouldn't have holidays, particularly prime ministers. My God, they need a break. But after 14 exhausting days at the helm of the good ship Britain, seems a little early to go off on a 2-week holiday. Clearly it was pre-booked. Again, if I was him, I would have postponed it. It's not a great look, is it?
If I was advising him, I mean, you're making a good point on PR, not on the PR issue. He's been out of the Commons for a long time. He doesn't know the officials. He doesn't know most of the Parliamentary Labour Party. And a week now spent learning the detailed ropes and the administration and all the problems that will face him would be worth a month or 6 weeks later on when events in the Commons, events elsewhere start hitting him. So I think he will come to regret it. I understand it's not just been in a job for a fortnight. He's fought an exhausting by-election. He was Mayor of Greater Manchester. Mrs. Burnham presumably wants some of his time. So I understand why he's gone, but I just think practically he is making a mistake.
Well, I agree with you. As I say, I don't want to make this sound as if some people go, well, politicians, prime ministers should never go on holiday. That's ridiculous. I think prime ministers deserve holidays more than almost anyone else in the country. But after 2 weeks, this seems kind of early, and you've pointed out some practical reasons why he shouldn't do it. But if nothing else, it is not a good look, and he should be thinking about good looks. You know what they say? The first 100 days of any administration are the most important. He's been in power 14 days and he's gone off for a fortnight. Hope he has a nice time, though. Graham, really good to talk to you. Thank you very much. A pleasure as always. Graham Stringer, the excellent Labour MP for Blackley and Middleton South, well, agreeing with us that Andy Burnham is making a mistake going off on this holiday. Graham says he believes he will live to regret it. That isn't to deny the Prime Minister a holiday. But for God's sake, he's been... It's like I said earlier, he's been there a fortnight, he's now going to take a fortnight off. He's like an oil rig worker. Do you think that he'll do this throughout his administration? 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So far, that seems to be the system. Should this guy be sunning himself now. 03444991000. In effect, we're going to go back to the migrant crisis after the break. Going to talk to a local resident down in Gosport in Hampshire, where the people are just so terrified because they used to be neighbours of one of the biggest immigration centres in Europe. Closed down 10 years ago. It's now being reopened for 600 migrants and foreign criminals. Locals in Gosport say, in effect, this will make them become prisoners in their own home. This is the migrant crisis. Hardly seems the act of an ambitious government with plans to solve it. Everywhere you look, you can see that all this government is doing is facilitating an ever-growing, ever-escalating migrant crisis, opening up a new detention centre, finding new army bases and disused air bases in which to put migrants, finding more and more houses of multiple occupations in which to put migrants. These are not the plans, these are not the activities of a government that is genuine about trying to stop the boats, trying to solve this crisis. They're the act of a government that has just accepted that this is going to get worse and worse and worse, and all they've got to do is somehow facilitate it. Not very ambitious, is it? 03444991000. We'll talk to a beleaguered resident in Gosport next. Stay tuned.
I think what he suspects is that the leadership of Reform is in trouble with all these scandals, apparent scandals over donations. Reform, nevertheless, is well known across the country. Reform as a vehicle is capable, if it has the right leadership, of actually forming a government. And that with the weakened leadership of Reform, there's a risk that Reform itself will be lost. And he doesn't want to lose the potential of a vehicle that could provide the kind of government that he and I and others wish this country to have.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Happy birthday to Meghan Markle. We'll talk about her 45th in just a little while, but on a more serious note, in what way does this show reveal a government ambitious to solve the migrant crisis? It is reopening the Haslar Immigration Detention Centre in Gosport in Hampshire, and it will hold 600 people. Three-storey building holding detaining migrants and foreign criminals. So in other words, this government isn't seeking to solve this crisis, it's seeking to find more and more places to put it, if you see what I mean. HMOs, hotels, disused air bases, military camps, and now this former detention centre, which is going to rise phoenix-like from the ashes of its former self, only in a much bigger form. Let's talk to one of the locals down there. He's Reform UK's deputy group leader at Gosport Borough Council. He represents the Hardway ward. Colin Towell. Colin, your ward, I believe, is pretty damn close to this proposed new massive immigration centre. I'm reading here that the poor people of Gosport are saying this will terrify us. It will in effect make us prisoners in our own home. Well, tell us what it is that you understand this place is going to be and why it is a source of such concern for your constituents and the people of Gosport generally.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, I'm a local councillor, so I'm on the council and I've been able to discuss these issues internally. But we in Reform UK, we understand the need for a facility such as this. I mean, this is supposed to be an immigration return centre, so it should be a housing facility for illegal immigrants and foreign criminals being returned to their home countries. But the real concern that Gosport residents have is that this facility was supposed to start off as housing approximately 160 people, and now there's a proposal to expand that to 600. And the facility itself, obviously, Gosport, well, let me explain. Gosport is a peninsula. We are surrounded by water on three sides, and the Haslar IRC is split from the main part of Gosport by a creek. So it is effectively a peninsula on top of a peninsula.
Right.
And the sheer size of this is what's really causing most concern for residents. The fact that it's been expanded so rapidly, that there's been no real consultation. Right from the very beginning, residents have felt that they haven't had a say on this. It wasn't really until last year when we in Reform UK held the very first local residents meeting on this, that residents felt they'd had any information or say in this at all. And this whole thing is being pushed through by central government. And we have very little say in it and very little control.
Let me, the Home Office official has pointed out to the Planning Inspectorate in a letter saying that the expansion of Haslar is, and I quote, critical to strengthen detention capacity and will enable more forced returns, including of foreign national offenders and individuals with no lawful right to remain, thereby supporting public safety. Well, that's all very well, but that doesn't include any reference whatsoever to the worried people of Gosport, does it?
No,
and what you were saying, Colin, is symptomatic of a picture we get all the time. Local communities suddenly have a bunch of migrants imposed on them and there's no consultation from central government. Your story is that, right?
It's really the fears and concerns of our local residents. I mean, this should be a closed-door facility, and these residents within that facility should not be allowed out, should not be capable of getting out onto the streets. But there are fears, of course, amongst residents that if the immigration return policy fails, what happens to these 600 foreign criminals and foreign nationals that are housed in this facility. Does the door simply get open and they're set out into the street? But there are other wider concerns as well. There are real concerns around transport and infrastructure. I mean, this peninsula that Hasler's on is connected to the main part of Gosport by a single track bridge. And there are predicted to be 700 traffic movements a day onto this tiny peninsula caused by this one development. This one development will now become a 3-story building, potentially overlooking private properties, taking away people's right to privacy. And we have, as you say, we have had residents describe to us how they feel that they are now prisoners in their own home. We had a delegation from one local resident who's been in this town for decades, who came to the council to speak to us about this, in which he described how he feels he is now trapped in his own home, unable to leave, unable to sell, doesn't want to be there anymore, and feels heavily let down, and he should do. Central government is imposing this on us. It hasn't even done a transport impact assessment, and so we don't even know what impact this is going to have on the local infrastructure of this particular area and our town as a whole. And there are further concerns that this facility, there is land near the facility that the Home Office has already purchased, and they've sprung essentially, let's call it what it is, this surprise expansion upon us. There's a fear that they could easily spring further expansions upon us, and building this facility on an unequipped peninsula within a peninsula really is just not the right place to be putting this.
And have you tried, Colin, to get in touch with central government over the last week or so, or recently? Any response, or what's happening there?
Reform UK, so we as a council have been consulted. We have put back our council views as a collective council, but we're in Reform UK, we'll be putting together our own views on this and going straight to the Home Office with our objections and our pushback. It's the total lack of transparency here. The report that we received as a council and were able to discuss and push back on had many items that were redacted, and we can see no reason why that would be. There are things being kept from us, and we don't like it. There's a complete lack of democratic control or accountability over this.
So central government gave you a report on this establishment with loads of bits blacked out, redacted.
That's essentially...
That's extraordinary.
Yeah.
That's extraordinary.
Yes, extraordinary.
That's extraordinary. Let me ask you this, Colin, as a member of Reform. As I said in my intro to this story, I mean, it's a story about the poor people of Gosport, but nationally, a government doing this, like reopening an immigration detention centre after 10 years for 600 migrants and foreign criminals, which will make it one of the biggest such establishments in all of Europe. Plus the fact they're going around commandeering army camps, disused air bases, houses of multiple occupation all over the country. The way this government goes about the migrant crisis doesn't betray any ambition to solve it, does it? What it betrays is just attempts to facilitate it. Let's get a bigger building, somewhere else to put them, more houses, more detention centres. This government doesn't seem intent on solving the crisis. They just seem intent on accommodating it as it gets bigger and bigger, right?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct in your analysis. I see nothing from this current government in form of proposals to actually try and stop this from happening. None of the things that really need to be done are being put in place. We are not dealing with the legislation that prevents our courts from returning these migrants. We're not dealing with the security of the borders. I see nothing from this government other than facilitation of this continued influx of illegal migrants. It's platitudes coming from them. That's all we're getting.
Well, listen, Colin, good to talk to you. Let's keep in touch, and good luck with your campaign. Hopefully you can maybe stop this, but I wouldn't bet the farm on it. Very good to talk to you. Colin Towell there, former UK's deputy leader in the Hampshire town of Gosport, where they are about to be saddled with this massive migration detention centre, 600 people, 3 stories. They closed it down 10 years ago. Now they're reopening it, only much, much bigger. Let me know what you think about that. 03444 99 1000. Mainly, though, I need to hear from you what you think about the unpausing of the early prison release scheme that Andy Burnham paused about a week ago. He's now unpaused it, and those 2 scumbags who killed poor PC Andrew Harper will be among those set free. 6,000 dangerous prisoners set free in September. Poor Andrew Harper's widow and mother are furious, not to say heartbroken about this. What are your thoughts? 03444 99 1000. What should we do about this? How can we stop the release of thousands and thousands of dangerous prisoners every couple of months, it seems like? What should we do? 03444 99 1000. As I say, happy birthday to Meghan. It's her 45th today. We'll have an assessment of whether or not this is a happy or an unhappy birthday for the Duchess of Sussex. I'll talk to royal biographer Angela Levin next. Stick around.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Happy birthday to you, Meghan Markle. She's 45 today. Let's talk to royal biographer Angela Levin. Angela, right off the bat, do you think this is a happy birthday for Meghan Markle or a less than happy birthday?
Well, I think to make a happy birthday for Meghan is jolly difficult. But I know what she really likes is she wants to be surrounded by loved ones, right? And last year or the year before, her little children wrote things about how wonderful she was as a mother. Harry helped them. Harry wrote them. But, yes.
It's such a strange thing.
That made her very happy. And she put them on a board in the kitchen, and everybody could see this and know that she's a marvellous mother. The fact that little Lilibet was only 4 was quite an extraordinary thing that happened. But that's what she likes. She said she doesn't want to have lots of people there. And I think it's because she wants to be in the middle, everybody looking at her and not having someone else making a conversation that doesn't take her in. So that's what it is, I think. She might like some jewellery, diamonds. That would please her. Never mind, they haven't got any money. That won't count. And I've seen her today in a picture on you, a swimming. That's it, the swimming suit she's got. So everyone can see that she's slim. She's got long legs. Oh, what a girl.
That's her birthday picture. That's presumably on Instagram. Do you know what, Angela? You know, people could laugh about this, but I think my mother was a very, very good mother. I mean, OK, she failed with me, but she was a great mum. Never once did I tell her that, or my brother or sister. We never once said, you know what, Mum, you're a great mum. Never once did my dad ask us to write to her, to tell her what a great mum she was. Had he have done so, he'd have got short shrift. Why do they need these demonstrative acts of love? That is kind of weird, isn't it?
No, they haven't got any confidence, not really confidence.
Yeah.
And that's why she can't get on with the royal family, because she doesn't know, she comes from a different family and she can't really know how to deal with it. And yesterday she was sending notes round that it was horrible. They've been so unkind to her. So, you know, you would think that what they've done, they were jolly lucky to get to see the king and the Queen, but it's just this case that she doesn't know how to handle it. Wherever else she goes, she knows how to smile and to, you know, go to everyone with all the things she wants to say, but she can't do it with that family. And I'm pleased to say that's probably why it will help the Queen and the King not to have them to stay with them.
Yeah, this is extraordinary. This is a story just breaking today that it has been revealed that Meghan was furious and upset that her and Harry, on their recent trip to Britain, where she was never seen, nor were the kids, but they went to Highgrove to see the King and everything, what was it, 2-3 weeks ago? She was apparently furious that they were treated like a pair of outsiders.
Well, she is an outsider.
Well, yeah, but that's my point. What does she expect? I mean, she went on to TV and said to Oprah Winfrey, you know, that royal family over in Britain, they're a bunch of racists. She went on later on Netflix to call all Brits racist, slave-driving racists. And then she comes back here, gets a bit of a cold reception, and she can't quite work out why. Well, gee, Meg, it might be that you called the King and his family a bunch of racists. Maybe that's why they're not welcoming you with open arms. Could be, couldn't it, Angela?
The thing is, she won't do anything to fit in how the royals fit in their way of life. She won't do that. She didn't do that from the start. She hated it. She's not going to not do things about selling things as well, because she can't actually make a difference to herself. She can't really do that. She feels she's got to win. She's got to choose what she likes. It is really disgusting to say that. That sentence actually means get out, doesn't it? It's why the King and the Queen should say get out. But what the matter was that they didn't want Camilla there, and she was insisting on being there, and Harry just had to deal with it as well, because that's it. She wanted to make sure that the King was okay and they weren't shouting at him or saying what they wanted to do. Not because he couldn't do it for himself, but he obviously wants to have a relationship with his son, because fathers do.
And he also wants to have a relationship with his grandchildren. I mean, yes. I understand the King's attitude, but we do know that from various sources within royal circles, the King is being urged not to go too far down this path, yes. Because while he wants a relationship with his grandchildren, perfectly understandable, and a father always loves his son no matter what that son gets up to. So he alone in the royal family would be prepared to allow them to, you know, to somehow come back to Britain and be a part of the royal fold a little bit more. But he's been warned. We know this, don't we, Angela? He's been warned by courtiers. Look, no one else in the royal family wants to know these two. So you be careful about Harry and Meghan, because William doesn't want to know them. Catherine doesn't want to know them. In fact, the rest of the royal family, Camilla can't stand them. So the rest of the royal family do not want Harry and Meghan back in the fold. That presents a problem because Harry's obsessed with healing the rift, isn't he?
Yeah. The thing is, as well, of course, you have to be very, very careful for the half in and half out. They won't let them do that, and they want to do that. They made a promise to the late Queen Elizabeth, but if they keep going to stay with them or living in Buckingham Palace and all that, then they build up something that makes it much easier for them to then do their buying and selling. And that makes me absolutely furious. It's a cunning way of getting into the area, you see. I find it awful.
Yeah, it's I mean, the poor late, great Queen Elizabeth II will be spinning in her grave. This is exactly what she told Harry and Meghan they could not do. She said to them, famously, look, if you want to go to California, to America, make your own living, make your own fortune, by all means, you know, it's free country, free world.
She was very kind about it all.
Yeah. But but your plan to go to America and make money out of being royal and then come back here and perform frontline royal duties, you know, cutting ribbons and opening libraries and things, well, that's no deal. You cannot do that. But Harry is obsessed with achieving that. He's still trying to go back on what his grandmother so fervently wanted. I think that is really sad. Let Queen Elizabeth lie peacefully in her grave. Don't go back on her dearest, most sacred wish. That's what he's trying to do.
You know, Meghan wants to have all these things of jams and all sorts of rubbish that she wants. And if she's royal, she will be able to get much more for them in money, and she'll be able to sell more of them. But they don't want to do that. They cannot take advantage of them. It's absolutely horrible how they can be so not just greedy, not just selfish, but actually really not trying to see how the father is, how well he is, or that disturbs him, that he would want his wife. You can be polite, and think back on the Queen when she was in a very bad state, when Harry's shouting at her when she was so ill before she died. You know, it's this sort of whole thing. I've got to win. And I think I've got to win against you. I can't bear it.
It really is. Anyway, well, in a way, happy birthday, Meghan. I really, really mean that. Listen, Angela, it's great to have you on the show, as always. Thank you so much. Angela Levin, royal biographer there. Happy birthday, Meghan. 45. 45. But enough of her IQ. That's a joke. Right, let's go to break, shall we? When we come back, we'll take some of your calls. 0344 499 1000. You know what we're talking about. The early release of prisoners, especially those two scumbags who killed PC Andrew Harper, despite what the Prime Minister said last week. They will, after all, be let free on an unsuspecting public after only 6 years for killing a copper. Also, the migrant crisis. It is spiralling out of control. We got a Prime Minister who pretends it's not happening, pretends Labour's plan to stop the boats is working when it palpably is not, and he's gone on holiday. 0344 499 1000. Give us a call. Let's talk. It's good to talk on Talk, and let's do that after these messages. Back in a mo.
Good morning to you. This is Tour the Home of Common Sense with me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. Just breaking news in the last couple of moments. Extraordinary news. Not just that the police have arrived at the Sandringham estate where Prince Andrew, as was now Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, is currently living since being thrown out of the Windsor estate. The police have arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. It's an extraordinary revelation. And certainly what's been contained in the Epstein files was released in the last few weeks. It's his 66th birthday today. What a birthday present that is.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. After the 6 o'clock news, I'll be going through some of the big stories of the day with journalist Nicole Lampert. Also going to bring you the extraordinary story of an ongoing row about a goal that Scotland scored against Brazil in 1982. The seething argument about that goal continues to this day, 54 years on. We'll talk to the main players in that ongoing drama in a little while towards the end of the next hour. But first, let's go over to you. It's time to take some of your phone calls until the 6 o'clock news. Let's talk to Barry in Norwich. Hi, Barry.
Good morning, Kevin. Afternoon, evening, sorry.
Well, what is it? What is it? Let's get there. It's going to be evening, I think, in 6 minutes' time. So, yeah, we'll go with evening. Go on, anyway.
I made a comment on Andy Burnham and his holiday, right?
Yeah.
No, I don't think he should be entitled. I mean, if you started a new job tomorrow, or I started a new job tomorrow, you could not put him for a 2-week holiday, 2 weeks after starting a new job. This is the Prime Minister's country. This country needs sorting out. Yeah, right? And he needs to be here, at least looking like he's sorting it out. Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, as I say, I want to stress, you know, Prime Ministers, almost more than any other person in the entire country, deserve holidays. They've got to take breaks. I mean, they do, whether you like them or not. They have to work 24/7. You know, I couldn't stand Starmer, but you couldn't criticise his work ethic. He was always working. They have to. So they need to take holidays. So I'm not saying Prime Ministers shouldn't go on holidays, politicians shouldn't have vacations. But after just 14 days, going off on a 2-week holiday, having only served for 2 weeks as Prime Minister, that, if nothing else, Barry, that is a shocking look. It looks so bad, doesn't it?
I mean, what's he calling this, number 10 abroad?
That's a brilliant, number 10 North, number 10 Downing Street and number 10 abroad. He probably is calling it that.
Yeah.
What do you make of him unpausing the pausing of the early prisoner release scheme? Did about a week ago. Oh, yeah, we're going to review that. I'm not sure about this. Suddenly, he's changed his mind. They're all going to be let out. 6,000 hardcore crooks will be released from prison in September. So that, his review of the early prison release scheme didn't amount to a hill of beans, did it?
I mean, I do believe in prisoner rehabilitation to a degree, right? But if you in prison for murdering emergency workers, murdering children and stuff like that, you cannot be a rehabilitated man. I think that should be an automatic life sentence, no parole, no early release, nothing, automatic life. Yeah, right.
I agree. I mean, these guys in particular, the killers of Andrew Harper, PC Harper. I mean, why can't the Prime Minister just say, well, those two can't come out? But apparently they are coming out. Good, isn't it?
I mean, he's weak, isn't he? And the way
that's what it is.
That police officer, the way they found him, I mean, you know, oh, God.
No, it was a horrific murder, and all the circumstances were so tragic. About to go on his honeymoon, his whole life ahead of him, loving wife, loving family. She's now a widow. His mother is heartbroken and furious. They shouldn't have to live like this. They really shouldn't. Barry, I've got to move on, but really good call. Thanks, mate. Thanks for calling. Barry in Norwich there. Great call, that. Let's talk to Elizabeth in Chorley. Hello, Elizabeth. What would you like to say?
Hi, I'd like to say that Andy Burnham going off on holiday after having less than 2 weeks of the Premiership, and having a really easy pass as the mayor of Manchester for the last few years is a lazy git, and he needs to get a grip on our country, because if he doesn't do it, other people will.
I've got a theory about this, Elizabeth. I suspect, obviously, to be fair to Burnham, this is a pre-booked holiday.
I don't care about him.
Yeah.
I don't care about
But his wife
holidays.
probably. His
He
wife.
knew he was going to run for the election.
Yeah,
and
that's
he
true.
knew he was going to be Prime Minister.
But his wife's probably saying, "Come on, you've got to go on holiday," don't you think?
I've cancelled my holidays.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think you should. I think it's just a really bad look after 2 weeks. And by the way, we've got these terrible... They've got these crises engulfing us. You know, the prison release scheme. The migrant crisis is getting worse by the day. And his response is, well, I'm off for a fortnight's sunshine in Europe. Nice, eh?
And then Louise Haig is his deputy.
Yeah, well, that's a criminal rehabilitation scheme, you see. It's worked wonderfully.
Well, it is for her.
She's a convicted criminal. Now she's running the country. Isn't that special?
This Labour government under Keir Starmer... and in 2024... they deserve to be absolutely smacked.
Yeah, I do. I agree with you, and I suspect that Mr. Burnham's bounce, well, it's already not lasting. Reformer above Labour in the polls again, but I think his bounce is going to go very, very flat, very, very quickly. But I really hope he has a lovely holiday. Elizabeth, thanks for calling. Great call. Elizabeth in Chorley there, making her feelings plain. She doesn't think that the Prime Minister should be on holiday. In fact, she says he's a lazy git. I don't think he's a lazy git, but I think this holiday is ill-advised. Graham Stringer, MP, Labour MP, just saying he'll come to regret it. I think he will. Next up, Nicole Lampert, go through all the big stories, so stay where you are.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. As in a little while, we're going to cover the extraordinary story. There's a new play. It's going to be debuted at the Edinburgh Fringe. It's called The Toe Poke. It's about this goal that a Scottish player called David Nery scored against Brazil in the World Cup in Spain in 1982. It was a hell of a goal. Just outside the area, a rocket was straight into the back of the net, which put Scotland 1-0 up against the mighty Brazil. They were a hell of a team then. The ecstasy of the Tartan Army didn't last long. They went on to lose that game 4-1. But Jimmy Hill, the then BBC presenter, football presenter, described that goal, David Nery's goal, as a toe poke. Now, I've looked at it 100 times. I don't think it was a toe poke. I think it was a brilliant strike. But Scottish people remain furious that he denigrated this great goal as a toe poke. The legendary Scottish commentator, Archie Macpherson, will join us later. He's still 54 years on. He's still furious that Jimmy Hill called this a toe poke. And James Lowland, the playwright, has written a play about it. And that it's called The Toe Poke. It looks into this 50-year-old dispute about whether or not... Now, the argument is that the English media perennially are disparaging about Scottish football. I'm not disparaging about Scottish football. I think Celtic are really good. But anyway, we'll talk about that play, that long-running dispute in a little while with legendary commentator Archie Macpherson and playwright James Lowland. So that in a little while. First of all, though, let's go through some of the big stories of the day with journalist Nicole Lampert. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for having me on.
First of all, we've got more serious things to discuss, but the issue of Andy Burnham's holiday. He's 15 days in office. He's gone off for a fortnight for some kind of sunshine break in Europe, we understand. As I said, do you think, will this be the pattern of his premiership? Will he be like an oil rig worker? He'll do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off? I mean, you know, could be, couldn't it? But I'm getting loads and loads of calls saying he shouldn't go on this holiday. This isn't to say he shouldn't have a holiday, but it's a pretty damn bad look. He has become, this is the earliest any Prime Minister has ever taken a holiday in their premiership. The closest to him was Theresa May back in 2016. She went walking in the Swiss Alps just 4 weeks into her premiership. But 15 days and he's off for 2 weeks. I mean, that takes the biscuit. I mean, as I say, he's a Prime Minister. He's a hard-working guy. He deserves a holiday like everybody else. But PR-wise, this is a really bad look. He should have thought about it, shouldn't he?
Yeah, I don't think he cares, really, though. I mean, look at the way he's got the premiership. It's astounding, really. It still astounds me that this is someone who 5 minutes ago wasn't even an MP, and now he's the Prime Minister. It's almost like he can't believe it. But yeah, I mean, look, he's just fought a tough battle to get to that place. Obviously, normally someone is Prime Minister, they already start with as an MP. So I can understand it's tiring. We're all tired. It's it's hot. It's the summer. The Parliament is in recess. So there's part of me that doesn't understand this. But then I'm thinking about anyone who just starts a new job, whatever it is. You'd feel slightly cagey about saying, "Oh, but I've got to go on holiday now." Yeah. You would feel ever so slightly, but particularly when you've got such an important job, like the most important job in the country.
I think it's a discipline issue. I mean, some of the newspapers you and I have worked for, if you turned up and after 2 weeks you said, I'm off on holiday for 2 weeks, they'd just say, well, don't bother coming back. Yes. But obviously the life is easier in Westminster. Just spoke to Labour MP Graham Stringer, veteran Labour MP, and he just said that he believes this is a mistake and that Andy Burnham will come to regret it. It's not about whether or not he can have any holidays, it's whether or not a holiday now, with all these crises engulfing the nation, is a good look. It's just a terrible look.
I think he's right, because I think that people will remember this when they're listing their things. They'll be like, and he only took a holiday only 2 weeks after being PM. It's a really bad PR look.
Yeah, got a text here, for example, among many, from Simon in Leicestershire. He says, Burnham's a selfish man. He put his own desires above the country's. I think he's done that with his policies, you know. Who in the whole country was going, you know, God, I hope when Andy gets in, he gives us more mayors. I really want a massive overhaul of the social care system, said no one ever, apart from Andy Burnham. He's very keen on his own policies, his own hobby horses, doesn't care about our fears, desires and our wants, particularly about, shall we start with the early prison release scheme. What are your thoughts on Burnham's approach to this? So it's about a week ago when it was revealed that two of poor PC Andrew Harper's killers, the guys, the little thugs, who towed him down a road, who dragged him down a road and killed him on a tow rope on the back of their car, when it was revealed that they are going to get out in September on the early release scheme, having served only 6 years of a 12.5-year sentence. That's not long enough in the first place, but 6 years is an insult to his family and his fellow officers. Well, Andy said, I agree, I'm going to have to review this early prison release scheme. Here we are, a week or so on. He's reviewed it and he's unpaused it, and they're all getting out after all, including PC Harper's two killers. I mean, that is another really, really bad look for Burnham, because poor PC Harper's widow, Lissy, is heartbroken and furious. His mother says, this is a complete slap in the face. Where's the justice here? Burnham's just gone off on holiday. Again, I think this will haunt him.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think this is such an emotional story. And I think that everyone, even though we moan about the police and the NHS or whatever, I think we have a particular reverence for people that will run towards danger, like the police. And so if someone kills them, then we feel it. That these are people that they're policing without guns or anything like that. And they need particular protection. But I think also no one who's murdered or committed manslaughter should be part of this programme of early release. As it is, our prison sentences aren't that long. People get out after half time often, and there's got to be a ways around it, or at least if you're going to do that, announce plans to build a new prison or something to get around this in a longer term. Because this is, again, short-term thinking.
It is. It definitely is. Now, let's go off-piste a bit. I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong. Let's go back to our old beat, show business. Let's talk about Hugh Edwards. Now, the guys at this office thought it would be very hilarious to sign me up for Hugh Edwards' Substack. So... every week I get this long marathon from Hugh Edwards about, you know, he's a really pretentious guy. He's always...
Oh, my God.
Have you read some of it? It's so pretentious. He's always sort of quoting Homer and, you know, sort of the Greek classics and the Roman, all the while all about forgiveness. Why can't people forgive me? You know, it's not fair on me. Well, mate, you're a convicted paedophile. You'll find that life for convicted paedophiles just isn't easy, so stop bleating. Anyway, now he has entered the Eisteddfod competition for poetry in Wales with this epic poem. It goes on and on and on, and then he's translated it into English. He's been criticised for this. Now, if he wants to put out this Substack and people want to read it, to be fair to him, he's not charging any money for it, then, you know, it's a free country, I guess. You pays your money, you takes your choice. But entering the Eisteddfod, I mean, it's a bit in your face, isn't it? I don't think he should be doing this. What do you think?
Well, I also read his Substack, and he doesn't seem to understand why people are so angry towards him, and so that is the key to it, really. He kind of thinks he's innocent of it all, and so he wants to try and regain his position in power again in public life. So this is another way of doing it, and it's just it seems that he has no one advising him what to do, or if he does, then he's ignoring them.
He said that the poem, as I say, you've seen it as well. It is epically long. I mean, it makes the Ancient Mariner look like a two-word verse. Anyway, this was what Hugh Edwards said. The poem was a tribute to my father. Nothing more or less than that. There was no way on earth I was going to win the competition, and I knew that. The poisonous narrative, encouraged by the press 2 years ago, needed correcting. Something to do with, there was this suggestion that he fell out with his father. Well, who cares whether he did or not? But this Substack, generally, as I say, I get to read it every week. It's one long poor me, poor me, poor me. You know, why is everybody being so nasty to me? They don't understand. You know, if I was guilty of this terrible crime, which I was, it's only because I've got mental health issues and all this. He's making excuses for himself. And
there's no reflection. There's no reflection in it.
Yeah.
You know, he mentions like this long list of philosophers, as if that explains anything to do with his behaviour and the modern world.
No, exactly right. It's quite a tragic spectacle, actually, and he should understand. You know, there is no forgiveness for paedophiles. Hugh, you are a child sex abuser. People don't like child sex abusers. Stop whining, seriously. Just got to do a bit of breaking news, Nicole. Princess Eugenie has given birth to a daughter at a hospital in Lisbon in Portugal. That was on Monday evening. Buckingham Palace have announced. So congratulations to Princess Eugenie. Right, let's go back to some serious news. What are your thoughts on the migrant crisis? This Prime Minister of ours generously squeezing in a quick publicity appearance by the White Cliffs of Dover on Sunday, probably nipping back home to pack so he could go on his holiday. But he stood there, just absolute verbiage, not saying it actually, oh, we've done some work here, but we've got to do more and all this kind of stuff. But he's sticking to his narrative that the number of crossings are down on last year. Therefore, the government's plan to stop the boats is clearly working. Well, since he's been in power, considerably more now than 2,000 migrants have come across the channel, and only this morning 157 migrants had to be rescued from one of these new mega boats when it caught fire by French and British boats, border patrol boats. And our Border Force boat actually helped the French bring these migrants back to France, so it can be done. But our Prime Minister keeps, I think, gaslighting us, telling us nothing to see here, we're solving the crisis. That's no good. They're not solving it. Palpably, the boats are coming across like the Spanish Armada at the moment.
Yeah, and I think so. Immigration is one of the #1 priorities for lots of British people. That and the cost of living is something that is a big part of our conversation. And if nothing else, in that time where he was thinking about how he was going to take over the premiership from Keir Starmer, then he should have been thinking about how he was going to tackle this issue. The fact is that he hasn't come up with any policy ideas about it. It speaks badly of him. We need to know. Really, we need some clearer ideas, and just pretending that it's not happening when it clearly is isn't good enough, and it's not going to be enough.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. He really, while he's on holiday, he should reflect on this. He needs to do more. This verbal platitudes, it's just no good. It's no good. They are not solving this crisis. They are not stopping the boats. It is palpably obvious. And we learned this morning, or we were reminded this morning of why so many of us want to stop the boats, is because people are dying. Last week, 4 died off the coast of Dunkirk. This morning, 157 could have died. He should do something about it. Now, let's move on. We've still got a few minutes, Nicole. Something that might be up your street. What are your thoughts about Diane Abbott being readmitted to the Labour Party? Now, Diane Abbott remains at the centre of an ongoing anti-Semitism row. Do you remember, famously, she got kicked out of the party after writing to The Observer to say, well, the thing about anti-Semitism, it's not the same as, like, racism against people of colour, black people, because, Jews are like white and that, aren't they?
It's like being a redhead.
Yeah, exactly right. She was asked to apologise for that. She sort of did, but not enough. Was kicked out and then said she stood by her letter. Now she's been allowed back into the Labour Party with no real proper apology for what she did. And I think after Andy Burnham, was it 2-3 weeks ago, said that the Labour Party took a wrong turn when it stood shoulder to shoulder with Israel after the October the 7th Hamas atrocity, free Palestine and all that. Andy Burnham, I think, is steering down a dark path. It strikes me he may well be, when it comes to the Israel-Jew issue, not much more than a slightly better-looking version than Jeremy Corbyn. This is playing to the anti-Semitic Labour gallery, isn't it? What he's done with Diane Abbott, and I think that's worrying.
It's concerning. There's part of me that feels, as a woman, that you can see why you want Diane Abbott back. She's the first black woman in Parliament. And also, in some ways, she doesn't have much power. She's not going to be in cabinet or anything like that, not like she was under Corbyn. She's not terribly bright. She probably was once upon a time, but now she comes out with all sorts of rubbish, including, just as worrying is about what she said about Russia and Ukraine, and that it's kind of Ukraine's fault that Russia invaded. So she's kind of dodgy on all these counts. But I suppose, in some ways, she was out of the party for a couple of years. I hope it doesn't herald a return to those dark days of Corbyn anti-Semitism. I hope that if there is any sign of that she's pushed out again, or anyone else is pushed out. It wasn't completely pushed out as it was. There are a lot of troublesome people within the Labour Party. And I think for me and many Jewish people, we are concerned, but, we don't know yet. There's, as we just discussed, he's only been PM for 2 weeks, and already he's doing some things that are slightly dodgy, but then on the other side, he did his social care thing at a Jewish care home, probably near where you live, Kevin. And so there was that too. So I just think the jury's out, but there is reason to be concerned.
Yeah,
and the fact that he went on Gary Lineker's podcast, one of the first things he did before talking to journalists.
Yeah, and I think we need more explanation as to why our Prime Minister thinks it was such a profound mistake of his predecessors to stand shoulder to shoulder with Israel after the October the 7th atrocity. 1,200 innocent Jews killed by Hamas thugs. The Prime Minister, our current Prime Minister, thinks the previous Prime Minister was wrong to stand with Israel after that. That, I would suggest, is a huge source of concern. It is to me, anyway.
Although I think it's hard to know what exactly he meant. Did he mean that, or did he just mean the smaller thing of when Starmer said that Israel was right to cut off food and water in the immediate aftermath? And so he definitely needs to explain these things more. And again, this is partly because he won't go in front of journalists, partly because he's only been Prime Minister for 2 weeks. I'm hoping it's not as bad as it looks.
Yeah, I think he's playing to the Corbynista crowd, which I think is just as worrying. Nicole, great to have you on the show. Always a pleasure. Nicole Lampert there, journalist. And next up, as I say, we're going to talk about this 54-year-old goal by Scotland against mighty Brazil that continues to cause great controversy to this day. I'm going to talk to a playwright, James Lowland, and the legendary Scottish football commentator, Archie Macpherson, next. Stay tuned.
Good morning to you. This is Tour the Home of Common Sense with me, Julia Hartley-Burgess. Breaking news in the last couple of moments. Extraordinary news. Not just that the police have arrived at the Sandringham estate where Prince Andrew, as was now Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, is currently living since being thrown out of the Windsor estate. The police have arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. It's an extraordinary revelation. And certainly what's been contained in the Epstein files as released in the last few weeks. It's his 66th birthday today. What a birthday present that is.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, it happened 44 years ago, and yet the debate rages to this day. It is the 1982 World Cup in Spain, and Scotland famously went ahead against mighty Brazil with a stunning goal by David Neri, which the BBC football host Jimmy Hill called a toe poke. Now, I've looked at this goal several times, many times, over the past week. That was no toe poke. It was a great goal. Unfortunately, Scotland didn't maintain that lead. They ended up losing that game 4-1. But for a few magic moments, the Tartan Army dared to dream. But members of the Tartan Army are still furious that Jimmy Hill denigrated that great goal by David Neri. Due to the magic of copyright and FIFA, can't quite show you the film of it. But let's talk to, legendary football commentator and author Archie Macpherson, and also playwright James Lowman, who's written a play about this. It'll be at the Edinburgh Fringe, and it's called The Toe Poke. So welcome, Archie. Welcome, James.
Hi, nice to see you, Kevin.
Good to see you. Now, first of all, let me talk to you, Archie. Great pleasure to have you on the show. I remember you in your heyday. You were the voice of Scottish football. Now, to this day, you remain furious that Jimmy Hill described David Neary's legendary, amazing goal against Brazil in the 1982 World Cup in Spain as a toe poke. As I say, I'm a football fan myself. I have looked back at that goal many times over the past week, since James first came to me. That's no toe poke. That was a terrific goal. Why, Archie, do you think Jimmy Hill called it a toe poke?
Well, he's English to start with. I mean, let's get this right. Mark, we're the same. We're the same. We're the opposite as opponents of yours, and consequently, we might have played down that as well, or exaggerated, or being ironic about it, and so on. It was a great goal, and I remember it came to half time. And Billy McNeill, the famous Celtic captain who won the European Cup in 1967, he was my co-commentator. And I saw him spilling his cup of tea, and he'd taken off his cans, and he spilled his cup of tea, and I wonder what... And he turned to me and said, "That man, he's just called that goal a toe poke." And Billy, of course, having played at the highest level of football and being a Scot himself, suddenly took umbrage to this, and I'll tell you what, we met Jimmy Hill later, and we really laid into him in a kind of ironic way. But in any case,
what was his response, Archie? What did Jimmy Hill say when you and Billy McNeill took it up with him and said that was no toe poke? What did Jimmy Hill say?
Well, first of all, he said to us when he met us, he said, "You know something? I'm very disappointed I wasn't knighted in the last honours list." And that gave Billy an opening. He said, "Jimmy, you're the greatest. You've just called a goal a toe poke. A knighthood? Let me tell you what I would give you," and then shut up, because he would have. It was all kind of funny at that stage, because Jimmy Hill was in a platform on top of a high rise building just above the pitch, and we could see him actually at that time. And I knew he would be in for it when he came down. Now, the astonishing thing about this, as a Scot, is that David Neary hardly ever crossed the halfway line. He was a defender. I mean, it was astonishing that he did that himself. Now, I hope you don't mind me saying so, but Scotland scored this goal far too quickly. Far too quickly. It enraged the Brazilians. I called it the equivalent of premature ejaculation.
How long did Scotland maintain the 1-0 lead, Archie?
About 15 minutes or so, because they were a brilliant team, let's face it. They had Socrates, their elegant and strong captain, strode through the game, spewing passes all over the place. It was brilliant to watch. I remember. They should have won. They should have won the cup, except their arrogance beat them in the final against Italy. But they were a great team. And the Scottish supporters, by the way, simply accepted that and mixed at the end of the game, making the biggest Congo line I've ever seen go through the city, because they realized that Brazil were great at football and simply were the better team.
Indeed. Socrates, he used to smoke 20 cigarettes a day, the philosopher of Brazilian football, but what a footballer he was. James, why write a play about this?
Well, I mean, listen to Archie talking about it.
I can see why.
It has to be. There's so many angles to this that I just thought were really interesting. Firstly, it was such a remarkable goal. The fact that the Tartan Army continued to take this up with Jimmy Hill for many, many years afterwards. And it obviously really sort of stuck with them and became a sort of staple of Scottish football supporting. The fact that I was interested in what if David Narey and Jimmy Hill had met and what would they have done, how would they have talked about it. So that's what the play is. The play is imagining that meeting. But also sort of reflecting on at that time, 1982, Scotland had a very strong team. They had an even stronger team in 1978, of course, and went into the tournament as one of the favourites. But then in 1998, when the players set, I think there's a lot of optimism, some very good players on that side, John Collins, Paul Lambert and others. And then, of course, it took 28 years to qualify for the next World Cup. So when I saw Scotland draw Brazil in the World Cup, all of these things came together. And I just thought, I've got to sort of try and think about that meeting and how they might have reconciled.
So your play is an imagined confrontation between David Narey and Jimmy Hill. How dare you call my stunning goal a toe poke?
That's about it, yeah. I mean, thankfully, though, there is a third character, real-life character on stage, which is Mr. Archie McPherson. So he's able to broker a reconciliation between David Narey and Jimmy Hill and maybe bring out some of the issues that related to this moment. And specifically for David Narey, he was Archie will have seen him play many, many times, but he's one of the classiest players of the generation anywhere, not just in Scotland, not just Dundee United. And he was, Dundee United fans talk of him as a legend, played 800 games for Dundee United. So an extraordinary achievement, a very, very classy player. Jimmy Hill, of course, was prone to saying things like that. He was prone to maybe not being particularly thoughtful in some of the ways he talks. And there is a hint of anti-Scottish belittlement in what he says there, as Archie's called it. But he's also a pretty remarkable guy. I mean, 3 points for a win, abolishing the maximum wage. He got promoted twice with Coventry City. So I wanted to kind of take that moment and then think about those characters in a slightly rounder way and to see them reconcile. I like to think they'd have reconciled if they'd met, certainly if Archie was with them at the time.
Boss of my team, Fulham, as well, for a long time. I had a few lunches with Jimmy over the years at Craven Cottage. Very, very nice guy. But possibly, Archie, also very, very English. Do you still detect a kind of anti-Scottish element in the English media?
I don't think there's a deliberate and calculated one. I think it just arises sometimes spontaneously when we're talking about comparisons between a nation of 5.5 million, a small nation, and a very big nation like England. And indeed, when I went to my first international back in 1946 with my father, I was suddenly blessed with this catastrophic explosion of excitement when Scotland scored a goal 2 minutes from the end of the game to beat England, who contained some famous players like the Hammer of the Scots, Tommy Lawton. Many of your English viewers will remember Tommy Lawton.
I remember Tommy Lawton.
Well, Scotland won that day, and I suddenly realised why football was so important to the Scots. It was because of our size. We could punch above our weight from time to time, not often enough, as I would like, but from time to time we could take down the biggest. And that's what the Tartan Army consists of, people expecting something special to happen. Sometimes they're disappointed, very often they're disappointed, but that's in our makeup. And England being our closest neighbour, of course, we take great excitement and enjoyment in pulling them down, as we have done famously, and I have commentated on it myself and enjoyed it as a neutral commentator, of course. Always.
Of course. What went wrong in this recent World Cup, Archie? Off the pitch, off the pitch, the Tartan Army were astonishing, spectacular.
And they were brilliant.
One of the great aspects of the last World Cup. On the pitch, it went badly wrong. What went wrong?
Well, the players shamed the support. The support were marvellous. They integrated with the Americans. 5 of my own family went across. They couldn't get tickets for the game, but yet they sat in these big open spaces with the big screens and enjoyed it immensely. The problem was we sent to the States the poorest Scottish team I have ever seen. And remember, I saw 18 World Cup games with Scotland, 18. And they were, somebody said, oh, well, it's the same old story, Scotland losing again. It wasn't the same old story. In 1974, my first World Cup, when we came back to thousands of people at the airport welcoming us back because we were the only team in that competition who were unbeaten.
Yeah, that's what I remember that. Yeah.
We finished earlier. So in that sense, now, this was a poor team. They beat Denmark spectacularly with amazing goals, including that one from the halfway line with a goalkeeper out of his goal. It floated in the air like a bird trying to find a nest, and it did in the back of the Danish net. But in between all of that, the Danes were playing us off the park. And remember, Denmark had 10 men. Let's not forget that. So we had to put into proper perspective, I did anyway, thinking, wait a minute, when we get to the States, we'll have to be infinitely better than we were that night. Well, we weren't. When I saw them defending against Haiti, who are way, way lower than us in the levels, defending with about 20 minutes to go because we were winning 1-0. I mean, the whole thing was shameful, in my view.
Yeah, and I don't think the manager distinguished himself. Now, just to say, Archie, like a bird trying to find its nest, you still got it. Really good to have you on the show. You're a legend. James, tell everyone how they can see the toe poke at the Edinburgh Fringe.
It opens this Friday, Kevin, at 6:15 p.m. at Grand Lodge on George Street. We've got a lovely little venue there. So it opens 6:15 every night for the first 12 nights, so the 7th to the 18th. And if you go onto the Edinburgh Fringe website, you can book tickets for this and all the other amazing shows at the Fringe, which is a fantastic event overall, of course, when you're on there. So yeah, we'd love to see a lot of your viewers joining us and reflecting on that incredible moment in 1982.
Extraordinary. Sounds like a great play. I'm trying to work out if I could get up there. But anyway, I would like to see it. But listen, thank you so much to playwright James Lowland and the legendary the voice of Scottish football, Archie Macpherson. What a story, eh? Nearly a 50-year-old story. Right, let's go to break, and when we come back, we'll take your calls. I'll read some messages and maybe some WhatsApp voice notes if we've got any. So all that still to come. Stay where you are.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Before we go to the phones, breaking news. Did you enjoy the Commonwealth Games? Did you notice the Commonwealth Games? They weren't on the BBC, were they, this year? So the state broadcaster barely mentioned them. They almost went down without trace. But it's still a great event. But here's the news. Incredible breaking news. It seems that some athletes, competitors in the Commonwealth Games, haven't gone home. They've stayed after the completion of that event, and the word is they're seeking asylum. This is what we understand so far. Several athletes have disappeared after competing in the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, failing to return home with the rest of their teams. Police Scotland said it had received reports of various athletes unaccounted for in the aftermath of the Games, which concluded on Sunday. The sports website MBS Sport said that 4 members of the Ugandan boxing squad had not turned up to fly home, adding that 1 member of the team had told the MBS website that those athletes, those 4 Ugandan boxers, intended to seek asylum in Scotland. Pakistan Today also reported that the boxer Quadratula, crazy name, crazy guy, had not joined the rest of his teammates in flying home to Pakistan, and that he was not found in his room when officials went to search for him. So it seems that a bunch of athletes who took part in the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, which ended on Sunday, have not gone home, and the word is they are either already seeking asylum or intend to apply for asylum. So there you are, breaking news. Quite a story. Shall we go to the phones? Let's talk to Alan in London. Hello, Alan.
Hello. That story just made me think what a dumb country we are. But it does speak.
Well, you know what happens when they do find these athletes, Alan, they will be allowed to stay. Their applications for asylum will be granted and approved like they always are.
Yeah, but you don't even have to get on the lorry or go on the boat now.
Just get yourself a career as a golden athlete, go to the Commonwealth Games and stick around afterwards. Simple. Who needs small boats? You want to talk about early release, Alan?
Well, before that, I've been thinking, I think you're being really unfair on Andy Burnham, because I have it on high authority that he's going to do secret PM, because no one knows who he is. and he's going to go around, he's going to take a 2-week holiday every month.
Well, that's what I said. He's going to be like an oil rig worker, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
Yeah, but he's going to keep up with all the people's feelings. He's going to spend 2 weeks in Soweto with the migrants.
Yeah, that's what I thought. He's gone on a 2-week holiday to sunny Soweto, do you reckon?
Yeah, and then he's going to do 2 weeks in the Mancunian crack dens.
Well, he'll enjoy that, won't he?
Yeah, he's going to carry on like that the rest of the year.
Yeah, it will probably be an improvement on his premiership so far, but anyway, what do you make of the early release scheme, the fact that Andy Burnham has U-turned again, and indeed these 2 scumbags who killed poor PC Andrew Harper will now be released in September, him having pledged the Prime Minister last week that he was going to review the situation. Well, he's reviewed it and they're getting out. Isn't that special?
It is really good, isn't it?
No.
Now what I would be if I would, I can't imagine that all the police officers in this country are so thick that they don't see what's happening, and that they're just being used for a political gain, not to uphold law and order. And when they treat it as badly as this, first I remember Dixon at Dock Green, where a guy shot a police officer and it was undrawn and quartered near enough.
Yeah, but mind you, Dixon on Dock Green was a television drama, not quite real life.
I think it was based on a real story.
No, it wasn't.
Well, I believed it when I was young.
Well, there you go. I mean, The point is, in September, despite everything, despite Andy Burnham saying he was going to review the situation, 6,000 very dangerous criminals will be released from prison early because the prisons are too crowded. Not very good, is it?
It's absolutely disgusting. And I mean, if this carries on, I mean, you can rob a shop, and as long as you don't steal over a certain amount, you can get away with it umpteen times. And now it seems you can murder people, and you only get a fraction of what your life sentence is.
Oh yeah, manslaughter. Well, these two thugs who killed poor PC Andrew Harper, they only got 12 years in the first place, 12 and a half years, and they're only going to have served 6 years for killing a copper. That is, serious countries would not impose sentences like that. That is not a serious sentence, and it is not a sentence that a serious country will give to people who killed the state's police officers. It's ridiculous, Alan. It really, really is. Listen, mate, I've got to move on. Really good call. Thanks for ringing. Alan in London. Let's go to break. When we come back, I've got some more calls, and I'll read some messages out as well. Stay tuned.
Good morning to you. This is Tour the Home of Common Sense with me, Julia Hartley-Burgess. Breaking news in the last couple of moments. Extraordinary news. Not just that the police have arrived at the Sandringham estate where Prince Andrew, as was now Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, is currently living since being thrown out of the Windsor estate. The police have arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. It's an extraordinary revelation. And certainly what's been contained in the Epstein files as released in the last few weeks. It's his 66th birthday today. What a birthday present that is.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Peter Carver will be taking you from 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. For the evening exchange. He'll be in a little while to let you know what he's got lined up for you. But first, a couple of voice notes. First of all, here's Steve on Andy Burnham.
You know, what happened to Andy was absolutely disgraceful. and these people should be locked away and basically the key thrown away. End of. They killed a person, policeman, you know, tragic circumstances and a tragic death. But what does Burnham do? Oh, he clears off on holiday. You know, he's only a few weeks into the job. The country's in an absolute mess. To be honest, I don't know, is the job just above him? I think it probably is, Kev. But, I mean, everybody's entitled to a holiday, but not when the country's like this and not what's happening. You know, you've got the most important job in the country. Stand up and be counted, man, for God's sake.
Steve's a good point. I think he's got a lot to learn about doing this job. Going on holiday is a really bad look. He should have thought about that. So he keeps sort of shrugging his shoulders about stuff, doesn't he? You know, well, you know, the number of crossings are down, so our plan to stop the boats is obviously working, you know. No, it's not. He's got to raise his game. He's got to learn what this job is all about, and so far he's not going about it very well at all. I want to keep people, because he's very likeable, but he's just not doing a very good job. Well, is he likeable? Is he? He's lying to us about this, you know, left, right and centre. Is that likeable? I don't find it that likeable. Just because he's got a personable manner, he's a little bit more relatable than that robot Keir Starmer. Doesn't make him likeable, I don't think. Here's another voice note. Dawn on PC Harper's killers.
So mad and so incensed at the PC Harper's killers getting out early. And I have a question maybe somebody can answer. Surely they should have got the same punishment under a category of joint enterprise where a group participating in the same offence and doing nothing to stop it is guilty of that offence. I'm sure there should be a question about that.
Well, Dawn, that is now the case. It's called Harper's Law. It was brought in after the campaigning of Andrew Harper's heartbroken widow, a very impressive young lady, Lissy. She campaigned for Harper's Law, which means that if you're like part of a gang and somebody gets killed, you're all culpable. But when poor PC Harper was killed, that law wasn't in place. So these two scumbags only got manslaughter. The other guy got murder because he was driving. In modern terms, they would all get murder. But there you are. There's a couple of texts. This is from Rob in Telford. He says, if the prisons are full, here's an idea: stop jailing people for tweets and Facebook posts. It's as simple as that, isn't it, Rob? Very good point. Yes, ridiculous. They're putting people in jail for tweets, and then they moan that the jails are overcrowded. Or stop that for a start. Another idea, maybe get rid of the 12% or so of all prisoners who are foreign nationals. Send them back home. That would free up thousands of empty cell space, wouldn't it? Margaret from Yorkshire says she's just signed the petition protesting about the release of Andrew Harper's killers. I put that out there on my timeline on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, that's at TV Kev. You can find, I posted the petition, but also you can find it anyway. If you just put it into Google, you'll find it. Big petition started by the Police Federation in Thames Valley. Sarah says, signed it. God bless Andrew. Keep signing it, folks. Let's get that petition into the millions. Tell Burnham and his lot just how furious, how horrified we are that you're letting out those scumbags who killed poor PC Andrew Harper. Let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Ian in Manchester. Hi, Ian.
Hiya. I've just got one question, really. If we can arrest and charge a migrant for piloting a overloaded boat, dangerously overloaded, why can't the French stop them before they leave France?
Well, do we arrest and charge that many alleged people smugglers? Do we?
I
don't think we do. We don't. These boats just turn up and they're all treated as migrants.
I've heard it on the news where they've charged a pilot.
Oh, they might have found, the odd one. Mostly, though, they just sort of...
No, but surely is there no maritime health and safety law? The boat is grossly overloaded. Just stop it.
Well, who would enforce that? It's it's international waters. Well, in terms of the French, I guess they could enforce it, but they don't. French don't want to stop the boats.
We paid them over £1 billion.
I know, I'm aware of that, mate. But the French, they've taken our money and they're laughing at us. They're not stopping the boats. They don't want to stop the boats. They want to say goodbye to the migrants. You see what I mean? You can have them. We don't want them.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's madness. It's madness, Ian. You're right. You're right to make the points you do. But we're stuck in a hamster wheel of insanity. We really are. Good call, though, mate. Thank you for ringing Ian in Manchester. Let's quickly talk to one of our favourite callers, Herbie in Harrow. Hi, Herbie.
Good evening, Kevin. You're on form tonight, by the sounds of it. Kevin,
angry as usual.
Can we now blame the government for destroying an institute that I've enjoyed for many, many years, Beefeater?
Yeah.
They're going to close all 106 sites in September.
Well, what does that mean? Is that a restaurant? Or
yeah, it's the Beefeater restaurants, and where you can buy mixed grill.
Oh, okay. Well, do we? I don't know about this. Are you telling me Beefeater are going out of business?
No, they're just shutting it down because of the cost of the.
It's just a business suffering under the. I get it. Well, if that's the case, Herbie, that's very, very sad, isn't it?
Oh, it's an institution that's.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
A lot of motorists used to enjoy there because that's where you could get a decent steak, mixed grill, and a Sunday.
Yeah. So it's part of the national pageant, Beefeaters. We'll have a look into that. But listen, Herbie, sorry to hear that, but thanks for calling. Herbie in Harrow. Peter Cardwell is in the studio.
Hi, Kevin.
What's this about you approving of Andy Burnham going on a holiday?
Yes, I do. I've written an article for the newspaper. I think you're wrong. I think Carl Turner's wrong. We're going to be debating it in the...
Why?
Why? Because people need holidays and we want politicians
15 days? 15 days? What nonsense are you writing in the paper?
Do you want to take it?
What is he, an oil rig worker? 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off? You don't think he'll come to regret this holiday?